There's a place in America where dressing up as a priest for Halloween could technically get you arrested. This isn't some forgotten relic. It's what happens when normal laws crash headfirst into the one night a year dedicated to chaos. We're about to explore the most absurd, hilarious, and utterly baffling bans that spring into existence for one reason only: Halloween. These are the laws born from pure holiday panic, a theater of the absurd where good intentions die in the most spectacular ways. 1. This wasn't a law, but a ban so absurd it deserves a spot on this list. In 2016, the creepy clown phenomenon swept the nation, and school districts panicked. The New Haven Public School District in Connecticut took the most extreme step. They issued a district-wide ban on all clown costumes for Halloween. They weren't just discouraging them, they were forbidden. This led to the wonderfully surreal situation of actual professional birthday party clowns organizing a Clown Lives Matter protest to reclaim their good name. They had to fight for their right to wear floppy shoes and red noses. 2. The humble egg. A symbol of breakfast, a key ingredient in cakes, and on Halloween night, a weapon of mass messiness. In Haddonfield, New Jersey, the town takes this threat so seriously that they've made it illegal for anyone under 18 to buy or possess eggs in the days leading up to Halloween. This isn't a suggestion. It's a full-blown preemptive strike against yolk-based vandalism. The best part? The town is famously the setting for the movie Halloween. It seems they're more worried about teenagers with cartons of eggs than they are about Michael Myers. 3. Your front yard is a masterpiece of horror, so terrifying it's making small children cry. Congratulations, you've mastered the spirit of Halloween. You may have also broken the law. In Forsyth County, Georgia, and in countless neighborhoods with homeowners associations, there are official rules against decorations deemed overly gruesome or too frightening. This creates the beautifully absurd job of an official judging whether your display is acceptably scary or illegally scary. It's a literal ban on being too good at celebrating Halloween. 4. What's the worst thing you can do on Halloween in Cumberland, Maryland? According to the city council, it's wielding a can of shaving cream. For years, the city enforced a strict ban on the possession of aerosol shaving cream cans on Halloween night. The rule was a direct response to the annual tradition of cars and houses getting a foamy makeover. Police were even authorized to confiscate the cans as contraband. Forget ghosts and ghouls. The real monsters in Cumberland are teenagers armed with barbasol. 5. There's a special kind of panic that sets in for local governments around mid-October. It's the fear of unsupervised children having fun after dark. Their solution? The Halloween curfew. Dozens of towns have them, but Bishopville, South Carolina, takes the cake, banning anyone under 18 from being on the streets after 6 p.m., 6 o'clock. The sun is barely down. This isn't just about preventing mischief. It's about fundamentally misunderstanding a holiday that doesn't even begin until nightfall. Does this actually protect kids, or does it just kill the magic for everyone? 6. Consider your costume options. You could go as a demon from the fiery depths of hell, complete with horns and a pitchfork. Perfectly legal. You could dress as a chainsaw-wielding maniac from a horror film. The law has no issue. But if you are in the state of Alabama and decide to dress as a priest, a nun, or a rabbi, you are technically breaking the law. A year-round statute makes it a crime to impersonate a minister of any religion. And on Halloween, this rule becomes a masterpiece of unintentional comedy. It's a beautiful piece of legislative logic that deems a fake blessing more dangerous to society than a fake axe. 7. For decades, one of the saddest Halloween bans has been practiced by animal shelters across the country. Many refuse to allow the adoption of black cats during the month of October. This policy was born from a pervasive and completely unsubstantiated urban legend that cults were adopting the cats for satanic rituals. There is zero evidence this has ever been a widespread problem, but the fear was enough to create a preemptive ban, punishing countless loving animals based on the color of their fur and a spooky story. 8. If you think curfews are bad, Try having your entire concept of time dictated by the government. In Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, Halloween doesn't always happen on October 31st. The town council reserves the right to move the holiday. If the 31st falls on a weekend, they often officially shift trick-or-treating to a weeknight to avoid conflicts with adult parties and weekend traffic. It's the ultimate act of bureaucratic control, deciding that a global holiday must bend to the will of a local traffic committee. 9. In the early days of the internet, a new form of Halloween terror was born: the chain email. You'd receive a spooky story about a vengeful spirit with a dire warning: forward this to 10 people in the next hour or you will be haunted. While not a government law, many schools and workplaces in the late 90s and early 2000s enacted official bans on these emails. They clogged servers and caused genuine panic among younger students. It was a fascinating moment in history, a technological ban on ghosts, where the IT department was forced to become the official line of defense against digital curses. 10. Imagine you're a high school senior. You've spent weeks on the perfect, terrifying costume for a Halloween party. There's just one problem. You live in Walnut Creek, California. Here, a city ordinance makes it illegal for anyone over the age of 12 to wear a mask without a permit from the sheriff. The law was designed to prevent crime, but on Halloween, it becomes a legal landmine for every teenager in town. So while the little kids can run around as Iron Man, you and your friends are forced to go as guy who is vaguely dressed like a pirate but had to leave his scary skull mask at home. 11. Your kid wants to be a pirate for Halloween. It's a classic. But that plastic sword, it's contraband. In school districts across the country, from Illinois to California, there's a zero-tolerance policy on costume weapons of any kind. Foam axes, plastic laser guns, even a wizard's staff could get a child sent to the principal's office. The logic is to prevent panic or confusion, but the result is a generation of ninjas without katanas and knights without swords. They aren't protecting anyone. They're just enforcing a slightly sadder, less accessorized Halloween. 12. You've found the perfect 12-foot inflatable skeleton for your yard, and you're ready to display it on October 1st. Not so fast. In countless neighborhoods governed by homeowners associations, there are strict rules dictating the exact date you're allowed to start decorating for Halloween. Put up your fake gravestones a day too early, and you could face a fine. These aren't just suggestions. They are legally binding covenants. It's a war against festive enthusiasm, waged by people with clipboards and too much time on their hands. When is it officially acceptable to get spooky? 13. Imagine being arrested on Halloween. Now imagine having to show up to your court hearing the next day, possibly still in costume. This happens so often that judges have had to address it. While there's no specific law, it is a widely enforced rule that you cannot appear before a judge in a Halloween costume. Bailiffs have been known to turn away defendants dressed as vampires or zombies, enforcing a ban on spooky attire in the halls of justice. It's the final, sobering end to a wild night out. 14. At many middle schools, one of the most terrifying things you can bring to a Halloween party isn't a scary mask. It's a tube of fake blood. Dozens of schools have outright banned it, not because it promotes violence, but because it's a nightmare to clean up. The war on Halloween horror is being led not by concerned parents, but by exasperated janitors who are tired of scrubbing red corn syrup off the linoleum. 15. Thinking of dressing up your golden retriever as a lion this year? You might want to check your local ordinances. While not exclusively a Halloween rule, many places, including parts of Florida, have animal welfare laws that can be interpreted to restrict costumes that are too cumbersome, distressing, or unsafe for pets. This puts pet owners in a strange legal gray area. Is that adorable pumpkin costume a festive tribute or an act of furry oppression? The line between cute and cruel is apparently a matter for the courts to decide. 16. The humble school Halloween party, once a festival of cupcakes with orange frosting and ghost-shaped cookies, has become a new battleground. Citing wellness policies, numerous school districts have banned sugary treats from holiday celebrations. Instead of candy, kids are encouraged to bring stickers, pencils, or healthy alternatives like baby carrots. It's a well-intentioned rule that feels like a fundamental betrayal of what a party is. It's the adult world imposing its joyless nutritional standards on the one day that is supposed to be all about excess. 17. Here's a law that sounds fake, but is very real in states like Delaware. It's illegal to dress in a costume that is a look-alike of a police officer's uniform. The intent is to stop people from impersonating law enforcement for criminal purposes. But on Halloween, it means that a child's off-the-rack cop costume is technically in violation of state code. Is a 7-year-old in a polyester blue suit really a threat to public order? Or is this a classic case of a law with absolutely no sense of humor? 18. In a stunning display of being completely out of touch, a middle school in Colorado once banned a student from wearing a poop emoji costume. The school deemed the inflatable brown swirl inappropriate, not because it was scary, but because it was, well, poop. This wasn't about safety or horror. It was about a new kind of Halloween censorship, where the greatest offense isn't being terrifying, but being a little bit silly and gross. 19. In Newport News, Virginia, the city has declared that being a teenager is a disqualifying condition for receiving free candy. An official ordinance makes it a Class 4 misdemeanor for anyone over the age of 12 to go trick-or-treating. Let that sink in. A 13-year-old, perhaps on their last nostalgic Halloween outing with younger siblings, could technically be committing a crime punishable by a fine. The law is rarely enforced, but it exists as a monument to the idea that, at the stroke of midnight on your 12th birthday, your right to fun-sized Snickers is revoked. 20. So you've got a drone, and you've got a brilliant idea. You're going to attach a lightweight skeleton to it and fly it past your neighbor's window for the ultimate scare. You have also just created a legal headache for yourself. Federal Aviation Administration rules, along with local nuisance and privacy laws, can be used to ban this kind of high-tech haunting. Police departments have had to issue warnings about unlawful drone operation on Halloween, proving that no matter how advanced our technology gets, our desire to use it for dumb, spooky pranks will always be one step ahead. 21. The humble roll of toilet paper. Benign in the bathroom, but on Halloween night, it becomes an instrument of suburban chaos. While there's no law specifically banning TPing, cities across America use existing statutes on littering, trespassing, and vandalism with a special vengeance in October. Police in places like Orem, Utah, have even run sting operations, catching teenagers in the act. It's a beautiful legal gray area where a harmless prank is elevated to a prosecutable offense, all because it's the one night a year dedicated to harmless pranks. 22. In many towns, there's an ordinance against unlawful ringing of doorbells. Yes, ding-dong ditch is technically illegal. This law sits dormant for 364 days a year, but on Halloween, it becomes the most relevant piece of legislation on the books. It is a law created by adults who have fundamentally forgotten what it feels like to be a child, seeking to criminalize the lowest stakes, highest reward prank in human history. 23. Here's a perfect piece of irony. Cemeteries. The one place that is inherently spooky year-round becomes a restricted zone on Halloween. Many municipal cemeteries, like those in Norfolk, Virginia, lock their gates early on October 31st and increase police patrols. Why? To prevent vandalism and what they delicately refer to as unauthorized rituals. It's a ban on being spooky in the spookiest place on earth, a tacit admission by the city that on this one night, the veil is a little too thin for their comfort. 24. You've set up a motion-activated screaming ghoul by your front door. It's a masterpiece of fright. It's also a potential violation of your city's noise ordinance. On Halloween, police departments are flooded with calls about excessive screaming, werewolf howls, and spooky music played on a loop. While they often give a warning, a particularly enthusiastic haunter could get hit with a fine. It's a ban on atmospheric excellence. How loud is too loud when it comes to celebrating a holiday built on startling people? 25. Let's talk about fire. Specifically, the fact that most cheap Halloween costumes are basically wearable fire hazards. The state of New York got so concerned about this that they passed a law in the 1950s explicitly banning the sale of flammable Halloween costumes and masks. On the surface, this sounds reasonable. But in practice, it's a law that tries to regulate the fundamental nature of cheap polyester. It's an attempt to solve a problem that is built into the very fabric, literally, of the holiday's commercialism. 26. Have you ever considered the logistics of a costume shop? They make 90% of their money in a 6-week period. To protect themselves from the inevitable post-Halloween remorse, most seasonal stores have an ironclad ban on costume returns after a certain date, usually around the 25th of October. This policy is a preemptive strike against the wear it once and return it crowd. It is a necessary, if slightly cynical, ban on buyer's remorse, forcing you to truly commit to your decision to be a hot dog. 27. You've built the ultimate haunted garage, so scary that people are lining up down the block. This is great until your local zoning board gets involved. In cities like Troy, Michigan, there are ordinances that regulate special events in residential areas. A home haunt that attracts too much traffic or operates too much like a business can be shut down and fined. It is the bureaucracy of fear, a ban that uses zoning codes and permits to legislate the acceptable limits of your Halloween spirit. 28. The city of Bathurst in Canada doesn't move Halloween, but it does put it on a very tight leash. An official bylaw states that trick-or-treating must end, with no exceptions, at 8 p.m. Not around 8, but a hard legislative stop. The rule also imposes a curfew on anyone under 14. So, one minute you're a kid enjoying a holiday, and the next, you're a pumpkin-shaped fugitive if you're still on the sidewalk at 8:01. Who do you think deserves more candy? The kid who respects the 8 p.m. deadline, or the little rebel who goes for one last house? 29. Perhaps the most powerful Halloween ban wasn't a law, but a ghost story that infected an entire generation. The myth of poisoned candy. In the 1980s, a nationwide panic about strangers putting razor blades and poison in Halloween treats led to a massive cultural shift. Hospitals offered free candy x-rays, and parents threw out any unwrapped or homemade goods. This was a de facto ban on trust, a collective decision to treat every neighbor as a potential villain. How many delicious homemade popcorn balls were tragically thrown away because of this phantom menace? 30. What happens to a pumpkin after Halloween? It often meets a violent end on a paved road. This act of pumpkin smashing is so common that some towns have had to address it specifically. Ordinances against illegal dumping, littering, or vandalism are dusted off and used to prosecute gourd-related crimes. The town of Kaiser, Oregon, even hosts an official pumpkin smasher event to give people a legal outlet for their destructive urges, effectively admitting that the desire to obliterate a festive squash is a fundamental and potentially criminal part of the human condition. 31. Let's discuss a law that isn't on any official books but is enforced in millions of homes every year: the parental candy tax. After a successful night of trick-or-treating, the haul is laid out on the living room floor. Then, the parents descend, invoking an unwritten rule that they are entitled to a percentage of the profits. Their justification? Quality control. They must personally inspect the candy for safety, a process that somehow always involves eating all the Reese's peanut butter cups. It is the most widespread, universally accepted, and completely unofficial ban on a child's right to their own property. 32. For as long as there have been cars and soap, there has been the Halloween tradition of soaping car windows. While it seems harmless, police can and do charge pranksters under laws against malicious mischief to a vehicle or vandalism. The same goes for using shaving cream or washable paint. It's a fascinating legal moment where the teenager thinks they're performing a harmless prank, but the law sees them as a budding automotive menace, one bar of soap away from a life of crime. 33. Welcome to the corporate world, where fun goes to die under the fluorescent lights of an HR department. Every October, a memo goes out that effectively bans 90% of all interesting Halloween costumes. No political costumes, nothing offensive, Nothing that could be considered a stereotype, nothing too revealing, and in many cases, no masks that cover the full face for security reasons. The result is a sea of people dressed as pumpkins or wearing cat ears, a landscape of forced, inoffensive festivity. It's a ban on creativity, disguised as a policy on workplace professionalism. 34. This is a ban so clever, it's disguised as magic. Meet the Switch Witch. In recent years, parents have started a new tradition to combat the sheer volume of sugar their kids consume. The story goes like this. On Halloween night, kids leave their excess candy out for the Switch Witch, who takes the candy and, in return, leaves a toy. It is a brilliant piece of parental propaganda, a voluntary ban on hoarding, framed as a visit from a friendly, toy-bearing sorceress. It's the kindest, most manipulative ban on this entire list. 35. The public library, a sanctuary of silence and order. Now, introduce Halloween. Librarians across the country have had to institute specific Halloween Day rules, effectively banning the core elements of the holiday. No full-face masks, as it's impossible to know who is in the building. No loud, spooky sound effects from costumes. And absolutely no running, even if you are being chased by a fictional monster. It's a quiet, shushing-based ban on the holiday's chaotic energy. 36. If you live in a large apartment building, you might be living in a trick-or-treat-free zone. Many high-rise residential buildings have an official ban on door-to-door trick-or-treating. Citing noise concerns, hallway congestion, and the security risk of strangers roaming the floors, they often restrict the activity entirely or relegate it to a single, sad party in the common room. It's a uniquely urban form of Halloween prohibition, where the classic neighborhood experience is deemed incompatible with modern communal living. 37. In the city of Belleville, Missouri, it is illegal for a person of high school age or older to go from door to door asking for treats. The law doesn't just target teenagers, it includes adults. This isn't about curfews or costumes, but the fundamental act of asking for candy. The ordinance was created to stop what the town called Halloween begging by older individuals. So, if you're a college student visiting home and you jokingly ask your neighbor for a Kit Kat, you are technically a lawbreaker. It is a ban on the very transaction that defines the entire holiday, enforced against anyone old enough to have a driver's license. 38. Few things scream autumn like a haunted hayride. But the journey from a simple tractor ride to a public event is paved with bureaucratic red tape. To operate one, you often need special permits, liability insurance, and must adhere to strict safety codes. The tractor must be inspected, the route approved, and the hay itself might even be subject to fire regulations. These rules effectively ban the spontaneous, let's put on a show spirit, turning a classic Halloween tradition into a logistical nightmare of compliance. 39. This ban is a masterclass in microscopic risk assessment. Some elementary schools have banned glow sticks from Halloween celebrations. The official reason? The fear that a child might break one open and be exposed to the non-toxic, but still vaguely chemical-sounding liquid inside. It's a ban on a source of harmless, spooky light, a preemptive strike against a danger that barely exists, all in the name of absolute, joy-crushing safety. 40. Every year, police departments issue warnings about new, Halloween-themed social media challenges. These often involve minor acts of vandalism or public nuisance, amplified and encouraged by online trends. While police can't ban a hashtag, they do the next best thing. They issue public statements warning that anyone participating will be prosecuted under existing laws for trespassing, property damage, or disorderly conduct. It's a modern, digital-age ban where law enforcement has to play whack-a-mole with viral stupidity. 41. This one comes from the small town of Vendargues in the south of France. In 2014, following the global media frenzy over creepy clown sightings, the mayor instituted a month-long ban on all clown costumes for anyone over the age of 13. The goal was to prevent evil clowns from disturbing the public peace. So while the rest of the world was dressing up as Pennywise, the teenagers of Vendargs had to find a less terrifying, government-approved costume. It was a bizarre, temporary overreaction to a media panic, punishing innocent, non-terrifying birthday party clowns in the process. 42. Here's a ban aimed at the most insidious party supply known to humanity: glitter. In an effort to be more environmentally friendly, a growing number of schools and community centers have instituted bans on glitter for Halloween crafts and parties. They cite its status as a microplastic that pollutes waterways. While ecologically sound, it is also a ban on the official dust of magic and chaos. They are saving the planet, one sad, non-sparkly ghost decoration at a time. 43. You decide to host a haunted house in your backyard, complete with a terrifying corn maze. It's a Halloween dream come true. However, in many agricultural and suburban areas, you may have just run afoul of local fire codes. Regulations around public assembly, especially those involving temporary structures made of highly flammable materials like corn stalks or hay bales, are incredibly strict. A fire marshal could shut down your amateur haunt for not having enough marked exits, fire extinguishers, or a proper permit. It's a ban that uses the dry, technical language of public safety to extinguish the flames of your spooky ambition. 44. This is a ban that's actually a beautiful act of inclusion. I'm talking about the Teal Pumpkin Project. This initiative encourages people to place a teal-painted pumpkin on their porch as a sign that they are offering non-food treats, like stickers or small toys. It's a response to the millions of children with severe food allergies who are often excluded from trick-or-treating. In essence, it is a voluntary, grassroots ban on carelessness, a way for an entire community to ensure Halloween is for everyone. 45. One of the most insidious Halloween bans isn't a law at all. It's a quiet, cultural replacement. I'm talking about the rise of the trunk or treat. Fearing the imagined dangers of traditional neighborhood trick-or-treating, many communities and churches have shifted the entire event to a parking lot. Kids go from decorated car trunk to decorated car trunk in a controlled, sterile, and brutally efficient loop. It's Halloween, repackaged for maximum safety and minimum adventure. It's a voluntary ban on the simple, spooky magic of knocking on a stranger's door and seeing what happens. A triumph of convenience over chaos. 46. In major cities like New York and London, public transit systems have a year-round ban on fully concealing your face. On Halloween, this rule collides with reality. While transit authorities usually relax the enforcement for one night, security officials still have the right to ask you to remove your mask if they deem it necessary. It creates a surreal dance of security and spookiness, where your right to look like a monster is temporarily suspended for your subway commute. 47. This might be the most extreme overreaction in Halloween history. A few years ago, an elementary school in Connecticut decided to ban the holiday entirely. But they didn't stop there. To avoid any festive association, they renamed their Halloween party the Fall Festival and officially banned the use of the word Halloween itself. It is a level of bureaucratic caution so profound that they believed the very name of the holiday was too spooky for children to handle. 48. Here's a ban that targets the most sacred space of all: your desk. In many large corporations, there's an unwritten but strictly enforced ban on competitive decorating. In the past, different departments would try to outdo each other with elaborate Halloween decorations, turning the office into a spooky wonderland. But this led to complaints about distractions, messes, and employees spending more time hanging fake cobwebs than working. So, human resources stepped in, often limiting decorations to a single, sad bowl of candy. It is a corporate ban on festive ambition, ensuring that the office remains a perfectly beige and productive environment, free from the terrifying threat of joy. 49. The city of Fort Wayne, Indiana, is home to a cemetery that has a very peculiar problem. For years, it was plagued by people dressing as scary clowns and lurking among the tombstones on Halloween night to frighten visitors. The situation got so out of hand that the cemetery had to officially ban anyone in a clown costume from the premises during the month of October. It's a ban of stunning specificity, targeting a single terrifying archetype in a single spooky location. Okay, we've dissected 49 different ways that society has tried to legislate, regulate, and control the beautiful chaos of Halloween. Only one remains. But before we get to our grand finale, it's time for the final verdict. In our opinion, the award for the most spectacularly dumb ban on this list goes to Number 3. The ban on overly gruesome decorations. Simply because it is a literal ban on being too good at celebrating Halloween. It creates the wonderful, surreal job of an official who must walk from house to house with some imaginary spookometer, deciding whether your fake zombie is acceptably terrifying or a public nuisance. It is a direct legislative attack on the very goal of the holiday. Do you agree with our verdict? Let us know what you think in the comments. And now, our final number. 50. The single dumbest and perhaps most tragic Halloween ban of all is the one we've slowly been imposing on ourselves. It is the ban on being genuinely scared. Think about it. We have not-so-scary parties for kids. Haunted houses now offer less intense versions. We've traded the thrill of real heart-pounding fear for a safer, more predictable, and ultimately less memorable experience. It's a slow, creeping cultural ban on the very emotion the holiday was designed to evoke. In our quest for absolute safety, we are systematically dismantling the very soul of Halloween, one gentle, unscary ghost at a time. These bans aren't just about safety. They're a hilarious, panicked reaction to the one night a year we collectively agree to celebrate chaos. They are a testament to our endless and often ridiculous attempts to control the uncontrollable. So, what's the one Halloween tradition you believe should be protected at all costs? If you enjoy content that digs deeper and makes you think, you're in the right place. Be sure to subscribe and join us for the next story.